Hi, my name is Jerry, aka Mr. Gizmo, and I am a member of the Yamaha TW200 Trailways Forum. I'm going to show you my bike and show you all the different things that I've done to it because generous forum members have shared their ideas with me. Okay, so as I'm panning back here, you can see my handlebar and I will say my dash console. And as I move in, I'm going to go from left to right. I have here, oh boy, I have here a hungry cat actually. There is my oil temperature gauge. I've been doing some modifications to see if I can get cooler oil. Here's what ends up telling me whether I'm going in the right direction or not, and I'll show you my cooler in a bit. As I move over, I have my Garmin Legend CX unit, and the nice thing about this unit is it's very compact, but it will still allow me to see via a chip that I've inserted into it all, I'm going to say, well, many single tracks, every logging road that I've come across, county roads. So when I'm up in the hills, I pretty much get to see exactly where I am with a picture, a map. So it's really nice. In the center there is my CB speaker. CB allows me to listen to the logging trucks. I fantasize about being able to ride with somebody else, and since I have some handheld CBs, I thought if I found a riding partner, I would provide them a handheld and I would have my CB and we'd know where we were going and we know where we were without having to like ride side by side. But so far no partner. Down here are my Pro Taper bars. Actually a portion of my Pro Taper bars. I replaced the solid motocross brace that goes from one side of the bar to the other with my own piece of metal, I guess, actually two pieces of metal, that I folded and formed kind of a hook and fed them through a heavy-duty urethane bushing that allows my bars to flex, still provide some support. I'm a conservative rider, don't ride real fast or jump, and so I think this for comfort is going to be fine, and for safety, given my needs, it'll be fine as well. Over here is my Spot personal transmitter. Allows me to kind of send a message to the wife indicating that I'm okay where I am, and if I need help I can press the I need help button. It's nice because when you get home it allows you to review where you've been. If you have any interest in some of the side trails, you can explore them in cyberspace, I guess, on the map that the Spot people provide when you're reviewing your history. There is a mount that I made for my video camera. The mount didn't work very well. It just provided too much vibration, or didn't really dampen enough vibration. So what I did is left the mount on and kind of stuck a watch to it so I can see what time it is. So as I pan back here, I will drop down on my gas tank. Here is a tank bag that I bought at a thrift store. It's, I think, a lady's sport purse. I have attached to it a Enduro roll chart, a little gizmo that allows me as much as anything to kind of write down different places like Forest Service roads, markings, mileage markings from my GPS or speedometer. So I have kind of a tendency of figuring out where I am relative to where I want to be. There's a pencil off on the right hand side, push through some flexible sheathing material that you buy at the hardware store to hold wires together. The tank bag, or lady's purse, cost me about $1 in a thrift store and has proved to be very valuable. I have a couple of bottles of 12-ounce bottles of water, my vehicle registration, some granola bars, a notepad, a couple of other things. Real handy. I'm real happy with it. And as I move backwards here, I want to show you my Airhawk seat pad. Really great, very, very comfortable. Kind of expensive. I think I paid about 160 bucks for it. In my opinion, it's worth it. Many members of the forum have found something that they purchased from Walmart, I think a Stern seat cover, they really like, and it is significantly cheaper. Okay, or less expensive, I should say. They're very happy with it. On the back here, I have my 1.2 gallon tour tank. And atop it, I have a PVC pipe system that I've made to hold 1.5 quarts of engine oil. I put that together briefly to provide me some buffer, since I modified my engine for a kind of unique oil cooler system. In the event that it didn't work, which sometimes my ideas don't, I just thought it'd be handy to have another 1.5 quarts of oil to put in so I can make it home. On the back is my DeWalt case that I purchased from, again, a thrift store for a couple of bucks. I think it was a system that carried a drill and a saw in one of those flashlight deals. Didn't need all that stuff, but the case worked out really good for holding my CB, a 3-watt cell phone amplifier for my cell phone to call home or wherever if I am in need. And again, here is my CB antenna as I kind of pan upwards. The car's in the garage. Well, maybe you can see the flag. I have a flag. There we go. Geez. I think it's a 6-foot antenna. But anyways, there's the flag. I carry a flag on there. I used to do dune buggy stuff in the dunes, and they require a flag, and it just seemed to be a really good idea because I go up in the hills and sometimes there are berms and bushes, and that just ideally lets somebody know that I'm around. Here is an air pump that I've been carrying from the very beginning. It allows me to repair flats in the event that I have them, or it allows me to offer the pump to someone else, which I've done a couple of times, to pump up their quad tires. Takes a while, but a little air is better than no air at all. As I move back, you can see there is one of my Tour Master bags that I have attached to the rear. I carry what I call kind of survival gear, you know, thick sweater, wool, extra pair of socks, a tow rope, a siphon hose, you know, a flare for starting a fire, a Mylar, you know, emergency blanket, that sort of stuff. Never used it, but hell, why not? Carry it. Okay, so as I move backwards, you can see that I have a tail light array. I have the stock light. I have an auxiliary LED light that I've wired solely for the purpose of braking. Thanks to a forum member, Dave, I've hooked it up to a flasher unit, so as I'm braking it pulses. It just doesn't go completely on. And down at the bottom here, there is another brake light below my license plate. This is a very generic LED put into your automobile brake light thread-in thing. It's something that I kind of made up, and this is both set up so that all the LEDs go on just with the brake, because I guess I want people to realize that I'm stopping. So as I move over to the right side, okay, I'll back up a little bit. You know, the rack, the packs, nothing really different with the exception of this. This is what is called a brace jack. A gentleman by the name of Bruce had shared the idea with me on the forums, and this allows me to jack up either my front or my back wheel for, say, chain lubrication or removal of the back or front wheel for a tube repair or tire change. It works very well. It's the bottom end, the adjustable end of a crutch. Actually, in my particular case, I used a walker that I purchased in the thrift store. You get them real cheap, $5, real easy mod. Here is my silencer that I've attached to the end of my stock muffler. I've retained my spark arrestor because I do a lot of riding up in the woods, but I just wanted to reduce the bark of the engine exhaust. So what I did is I kind of fabricated a system out of fiberglass wrap and in whatever, and it works really, really well. It doesn't seem to impact the power for what power I really need, but it does take away some of the bite from the exhaust and makes riding in the hills a lot more pleasurable. As I go underneath the bike, you can kind of see on the back side of the taillight there is something. That something is a Nagleen like thermos bottle Cordura bag that allows me to carry some tools. It works really, really well, keeps the tools dry, pretty secure. I'm real happy with it. Got that a couple of years ago and haven't had any problems at all. So as I kind of move forward again on the right side of the bike, okay, perhaps something that stands out a bit is the unique looking tank. This is an Yamaha XT600 tank. It carries 3 gallons of fuel, approximately, for me, 3 gallons. I think it's like 2.9. Real easy to install. There are instructions on the forum as to how to do this. Some people seem to be a little intimidated, but it's really worthwhile. I think I paid $30 for the tank. The installation was straightforward. Now instead of 1.7 gallons of fuel, I can carry essentially 3. But of course with the tour tank, it brings it up to 4. Real nice. I couldn't get the plastic kind of vent covers for the tank that allow some wind to be redirected to the cylinders, so I made my own from aluminum gutter flashing. So here as I pan down, okay, there we go. I have a 2006 TW, and I've installed a Kickstarter. Makes it real nice. I use the electric starter a lot. However, the Kickstarter is great when the battery, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be functioning properly. I was able to install this, once again, with the assistance and information from members of Chopper Charles, TW200 Trailways Forum. Off to the, say, left of this picture, there is a cigarette lighter attachment for me to hook up accessory items such as my CB radio, which isn't hardwired into my electrical system. I kind of have to plug it in. The cylindrical or circular white disc in the center is a candy thermometer, and that's inserted into a hole that I drilled in one of the rear cylinder fin braces. Then I insulated it with some real high-tech insulation. So what this does is provides me a benchmark for, I'm going to say, engine temperature. Once I hooked it up, saw what it ran at, I expect to see it at that temperature pretty much anytime I ride. And there is some variability depending upon the type of ride. So it allows me to see whether my engine is acting like it always has or if something is a little bit askew. As I move in, you will see my spark plug has kind of something beneath the cap atop the plug. And this is one of those iCat spark enhancers that Dave, a forum member, had shared with me. I installed it. It works great. It provides easier starting. The engine's not hard to start, but this makes it even easier. I also have one on my Volkswagen, and I can idle the engine down to 600 RPMs, and it idles very, very smoothly. It just, I guess, gives a much hotter spark than normally, what I might normally have, and that's great. As I pan forward, there's a red strap there. It's connected to, I'm going to say, my fork, well, probably the head tube of the motorcycle. This affords me some opportunity should I experience some technical difficulties and can't get the engine running. If I'm very, very careful and find somebody that's willing to pull me back to civilization, I can do that, you know, slowly. Yeah, I have a tow rope, and you know, you need to be real careful, but if you don't have anything, you're stuck. So I've got something, and with care, I can get myself and the bike back to civilization without much to do. As I pan back, I have a container of sorts. Again, an idea from another forum member that I think they were concerned about carrying some fuel in an MSR fuel bottle. My concern was carrying some surveyor's paint that allows me to mark an X or an arrow on some of the obscure roads or trails that I'm on. Gives people an opportunity to see where I've gone in the event that I don't return home. With the spot, it makes it less critical because I can transmit kind of a message electronically via a satellite. But if that doesn't get done and I remember to mark the trail, you know, I can kind of find my way back, or somebody can find me. Okay, I will pan back a little bit further, and here is a new fender that another forum member had suggested we give a try. It's real space age, certainly. I haven't raised it like most people do. I've kind of left it in the stock position. It's, well, it's hard to say what it is. It's just a fender, I guess. What I've done is I've trimmed the rear of it because it would be rubbing the tire if I left it the way I have it mounted. And my hope is that the way I've trimmed it here, it kind of acts as a little bit of a, like, wedge or scoop, and any mud that's on my tire will kind of get peeled up and off via the slope of the back of the fender, and then the clearance on the front of the fender ideally will allow the mud to fly kind of up and out of the tire lugs, still providing me some traction. Like many members of the TW forum, I have changed from the stock tire, which really didn't work very well in the mud, to a Maxxis tire, which apparently now is a little bit more difficult to find, but I've been told that it's still available if you look. I have dual horns. Again, this was from Dave at the TW forums. They're extra loud. I also have replaced kind of a circuit on my electrical system that allows the high beam of my extra bright headlight to flash as I'm riding during the day, which seems to attract some attention and ideally will minimize the possibility of people pulling out in front of me. Here is my front cowl bag that I use for carrying my wallet, my camera, and actually sunglasses, I guess. Again, a 25-cent thrift store item that I'm really pleased with, and I've had it on the bike for a couple of years. Here are my handlebar, actually brake lever protectors. I put these on per the advice of another forum member. However, the ones that I got, though nice, work perfectly well for me. They're all plastic and there is no metal reinforcement. I've fallen quite a bit, as you can kind of see. There's a little bit of a scar there, and they've worked great. So I'm not unhappy with them, but I think if anybody else were to do it, my recommendation would be get one with a metal brace. as we move in close. There is a gauge there. That is the pressure gauge to my fork sub-tank, which you can actually see right behind the fork tube. This allows me to adjust the air pressure in my forks, which initially were a lot more important, or the air pressure was a lot more important to me than it is now. I'm using some aftermarket progressive springs, which seem to work well, much better than the stock springs. But previously I was able to soften my ride by installing what's called a sub-tank per Jeff's advice, and this allows a little bit more air in the front suspension system and can impact how the fork, or how quickly, I guess, or harshly, the front fork will compress. Since I ride slow and mostly off-road, what I wanted to do is allow a lot of travel before I got impact, and this seems to work very, very well for me, and now at pretty much zero pressure. Okay, as I move over here, I guess I'm going to go back to the front module. In the center here you can see my beeper for my directional signal, so I don't leave my directional signals going and annoy people behind me. There is also a switch just below the white directional signal speaker, which is a on and off switch for my headlights, so ideally I will save a little battery, and I generally run it on-road with headlights on and flashing, off-road with headlights off, unless it's very, very wooded. Off to the right of the headlight switch and the directional beeper, there is an Altoid can that I have filled with some extra fuses, a tire valve core remover, actually a Presta valve adapter in the event that I meet a mountain biker on the hills, and a few other things that I can't remember. Actually, I think there are some pain pills. If I fall and break my ankle and I still want to sit on the roadside and not be in severe pain, doctor gave me a prescription, and I think I have 3 Oxycontin or something, I don't know, but hey, whatever. Off to the right of that I have a cylindrical container that carries a mohair brush that I can brush off the lens of my camera and the lens of my Garmin GPS. Jeez, boy, yeah, hardcore. And then there above that is a little container that I think I carry like 1/4 of an ounce of oil, 2-stroke oil, that in the event that I come across a 2-stroke rider that's out of gas, I can give him gas via my siphon hose, but he'll need some oil as well, so I've got it. So as I move back once again, okay, and I was talking earlier about a oil cooler system. I have what I call cooling coils. This is 1/4-inch copper tubing. It's about 8 feet of it that I'm running off the primary sprocket bearing lubrication port on the engine, which actually, as you can see, if you own a TW, is right on the side here. Wasn't really a hard mod to do, but a mod that probably makes a lot of people nervous because it's cutting into your stock engine case. I was able to do it. I used some JB Weld to seal everything up. I've run it for about, I would say, a month or so, and I haven't had any problems with it at all. And I will say, not to brag, and it's not anecdotal information, but it's just kind of what I've observed. It seems to drop the oil temperature about 20 degrees so far. As I pan down, oh boy, the light on this is pretty crappy. Well, whatever. There is a folding shift lever, and you can see I am not using the stock skid plate. I have an XT 225 skid plate that interchanges. A number of people are using a different skid plate. I'm thinking it's, I'm going to say Ricochet, but a company in Utah. They're very, very pleased with it. So, you know, they're going to be both around $100, I guess, give or take. And so as I move back, okay, there is kind of my homemade automatic oiling system. It's a little plastic bottle that I'm able to fill, and it has a kind of a tube with wire wound around it to stiffen it up that allows me to drip oil on the chain when I'm running. And this seems to work out pretty well. It actually ends up getting more oil than it really needs, but it's not a big thing, and it actually doesn't really make much of a mess, I guess. Here are some tubes that run from my cooling coils back to my oil reservoir. This allows me to carry an extra 8 ounces of oil, which is plumbed into the engine lubrication system. And this is in a copper tube, much like my sub-tank for my forks, and the copper tube being relatively close, but not so close as to cause any problems to the rear wheel. As the rear wheel spins, it generates a lot of air movement. The air kind of cools the oil that's in the copper tube. The oil that's in the copper tube is in addition to the quart of oil that's in the engine. The hot oil in the engine comes into this, displaces the cool oil in the tube. The cooler oil runs back into the engine. Again, this is all part of my oil cooling system that seems to net me about a 20-degree reduction in oil temperature. Given some testing over a couple of 100 miles in a couple of months, so I'm satisfied with it. Okay, so I pan back. My packs actually, as I go forward, here is a lever that allows me to turn the fuel from my tour tank on or off depending upon my need. It's in the off position. And I will pan right around again, kind of going full circle. What we have here, let's see, that's a good view, is a dual sprocket assembly. I am running dual sprockets both on the rear and the front primary shaft of the motorcycle. On the front I have a 14 and 15 tooth sprocket on the primary shaft. On the rear I have a 50 and 55. So I have it set up so that I can run a 1455 or I can run a 1550 without really having to do anything to the chain, with the exception of loosening the axle nuts and dropping the chain to the appropriate sprocket set and then retensioning using the stock cam. Works out really well. Again, I'm not a real aggressive rider. However, I think for any reasonable adult, it would be a system that would work fine, very doable, didn't take a lot of high-tech stuff. So anyways, well, here as I pan up, I guess, here's another leather bag wedged in between my Tourmaster panniers and my rack that holds the Tourmasters away from the tire and the exhaust. And this is a leather bag, again, bought in a thrift store. Don't know what the purpose was. I have the rest of my tools, so I'm able to carry quite an assortment of tools and actually survival gear. So here's my controls for my CB radio sticking out of my DeWalt saw flashlight drill box. I won't bother opening things up in there. I carry an extra cell phone, a cell phone amp, a CB, some maps, some binoculars, a couple of other things that, I don't know, I just feel might be necessary. So, I thank you for your time. If you're interested in Yamaha TWs, go to Chopper Charles's forum, the Yamaha TW200 Trailways Discussion Forum, I believe it's called. Nice group of people, lot of information. So, I'll see you all later, maybe. Take care. Bye-bye.